Jeff, of course, Michael Lubie. Lubit's very happy to welcome this gentleman to the program. It's always great having a basketball conversation with him. And think about, how great this guy is that after throwing a Henry Finkel reference at him, he still volunteers to be in our program. Suggesting that you would have Hank Finkel shooting a three. We welcome Ron Rothstein, the coach, to the show. And, of course, doing a great job as a Heat analyst now in his most recent capacity with the team. Coach, how are you? I mean, we haven't had this feeling here since like 1969. I mean, this is a real Cinderella story. How are you, my friend?
First of all, I do question my sanity every time I say yes.
What a way to ruin a morning, yeah. Do you believe, Ron Rothstein, and obviously well-versed in coaching experience, that if Eric Spoelstra was an assistant on Red Klotz's staff, that the Generals might have gone 500 against the Globetrotters? Is he that good? Is he that good?
Well, that's, come on now, be fair. You got to be fair. Come on, man.
Who would fit the category, I guess? I don't know. Auerbach?
No one. Maybe Lubie, but not you.
The time. Wake up with Defo. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on what should be one fine day, Mike Lubie Lubitz. It could be Closeout City here in South Florida. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with the handsome gentleman there with the Seminole helmet, adorning his, that's a pretty good display you worked up, considering it's, comprised of really marginal elements. You got a couple of bobbleheads, a helmet, and an on-air sign that you ripped off from the radio station. Oh, no, you say you got that as a gift.
I did, but I'm mad that I didn't think to grab it from the radio station.
The only thing we took was some headsets that I think they were unaware that we ever had them to begin with. But you have to leave with something. Come on. I mean, a Comrex, something. I mean,
I wanted the Comrex.
Which would have been useless to us because, you know what? This is a far better system and you need less stuff. It's absolutely great. Plus, you got the video element. But no, it looks great, Lubie. It's a vast improvement from when you had that baby crib in there, even though you don't have children. And you had like a blanket taped to the wall. We're trying to look professional here, man. We're trying to attract major sponsors and, influencers to come on the show. That was great. Yeah, Ronnie Rothstein. I think that's going to be my go-to question for everybody now whenever we talk about Eric Spoelstra. We ran it by Sean Devaney yesterday on the program. You guys are going to be sick of it, right? You're going to know it's coming. Same old jokes, DeForest. Same old jokes. When are you going to come up with some new material? That was new material, though, wasn't it? I mean, we had never, kind of phrased it that way before. But it struck me that maybe if Spoelstra was on the staff, of course, Red Klotz, the famous coach, Clown Prince coach of the Washington Generals. And Tom Thibodeau is starting to look a little bit like Red Klotz, is he not? Is he taking, I should have run that by Rothstein. Do you think Tom Thibodeau is starting to morph a little bit into the late, great Red Klotz?
That's before my time.
Who coached the Generals to one unfortunate win, one win. And I don't know. Was that it? They beat the Globetrotters one time? Is that how the legend goes, Libby?
They did beat them one time. I don't know if they beat them only one time, but I know that.
I believe it was one time. How could that be? I mean, the games were rehearsed.
I was going to see, was it set up? Like, they were set up, right? Like, I know that the Globetrotters were vastly better, but when you play 100 times, usually a team gets.
They're throwing confetti at these guys. I mean, they have the ball on a rubber band. Everything had that. The officials, you don't think? I mean, they were from the WWE. How could they possibly, accord Red Klotz a chance to do anything? His career record. Like, remember when Jimmy Leland didn't want to manage the Marlins in '98 because he didn't want to ruin his career record?
He's like, fuck this.
I don't want to lose 120 games. What the hell? What do I look like? Casey fucking Stengel? Get out of here.
Like, what group is this? We just won a World Series.
Anyway, what song are we going to use for tonight? Tonight's the night. Gonna feel all right. What wasn't there one in was it West Side Story that didn't have a song about? What was that? Tonight. Was that West Side Story? Yeah. But it is going to be tonight, and it's historic. It's an historic occasion here in South Florida sports, and it's never happened before in South Florida sports history. And we had a research department on it early this morning as my head hit the computer keys, and up pops the 95-96 Miami Heat. And I'm thinking, all right, have we ever been in a situation where both the Heat and the Panthers, Heat in existence here for 35 years, 35th anniversary of the Miami Heat inception, and the Panthers now in their 30th year of competition. The Panthers have a total of Blutarski 0.0 championships. Is that somewhat of a disgrace, Lubie? Should you have snuck one in there somewhere? I mean, franchises in the NHL. Look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, my friend. The Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs don't have a championship since like 1967 or something like that. Is that right? Is it 67?
Yeah. Mayo said it repeatedly. Yes, late 60s.
My God.
Man, they care. They care. These people are fucking insane.
No, this is their thing, man. I mean, they can have the Raptors winning a championship, and that's good. You look at the Blue Jays, and they always seem to be, a team that at least is getting consideration. Oh, yeah, they're going to be good this year.
Yeah.
They never are, but oh, yeah, they're going to be good this year. Watch out for the Blue Jays. Don't sleep on the Blue Jays. That's a bunch of nonsense, huh? Anybody who buys that. In fact, all Toronto teams, for the most part, suck.
They have more.
You're paying hideous taxes. Nobody wants to go there. No American player, or even I would imagine no Canadian player.
Yeah.
Are Canadian players forced to pay hideous, obnoxious tax rates? Now they do have some good things working there in Canada. As much as we like to rip our Canadian friends to the north, because they come down here to South Florida and they take up a hell of a lot of space.
Yes.
And usually without having, been well versed in any form of etiquette or manners. Is that mostly Montreal? Because it seems like the Toronto people get a free pass on the criticism, the sarcasm, the cynicism that usually surrounds any conversation about French Canadians in South Florida. We're not talking about French Canadians here, correct?
Mm.
It's more of an English
Toronto
thing.
is not.
Yeah.
Toronto's not. But, I mean, that's Quebec. Quebec, Montreal.
Yeah.
Is the
Which, as my friend Toronto Tommy said, was a French ghetto. I know nothing about any of this, man. You know what? I can't say that I've been to either city. I want to say no to both. All right. Maybe in some kind of drug-induced state when I was in college, I might have drifted into Toronto. I'm not sure. By way of what? Buffalo? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But I might have set foot there. I was like Matt and Sweat, the guys that escaped from Dannemora. I might have just set foot there. And then all of a sudden, no, the cops? What, are you kidding me? No, I'm not the guy that escaped from prison. What would I be doing here?
What am I doing here?
Dr. Galea, man. Maybe you could go there. You could cure this thing with my hand. That's for sure. Galea, you think I'd still be in pain, Lubie, if I was, Tiger Woods? I don't think so.
You'd be able to hit 400 yards.
All right, so it's unprecedented. The Heat got knocked out in 95-96. They get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs that year. So the year the Panthers went to the championship round, the Stanley Cup final, the Heat were nowhere to be seen at that stage of the postseason. And we know that neither team, while the Heat have been to the conference finals on many occasions, I guess.
Six times.
Yeah. The Panthers have yet to get there again.
Or 6 times in the Spoelstra era. They've been there. Or 6 times in the Dwayne Wade era. I guess they went with Zoe.
Yeah.
And got annihilated by the Bulls one time, I guess. So maybe 7 times.
Yeah. But, they've been there before. But,
Yes.
you don't have to worry about it being a duality where both teams are in a conference final, because the Panthers haven't sniffed that stage of the playoffs ever since the 95-96 season, correct?
No.
Not even come close, right? Have they even won more than one round ever before?
Remember, last year was their first round victory since that time, and they got swept.
Yeah. Second round. All right. Well, they're turning the tables on the Maple Leafs. And I would imagine the people in Toronto, we were trying to get a hold of Marty Klinkenberg. He said he was a little under the weather. Marty Klinkenberg, some of you old-timers may remember, was an excellent sports writer with the Miami News. And he's such an excellent sports writer. He's still a sports writer.
Nice.
And he has the #1 beat in the country of Canada, our northern friends. as he covers the Maple Leafs for whatever the big paper is there. Is that the Toronto Star or something?
Isn't
What
it
is
the
it?
Toronto Sun? I think the Toronto Sun is a big paper.
I don't know. Whatever it is, man. The Gazette, the Press Enterprise, could be anything. But yeah, I should know this, right? The name of the newspaper, the big newspaper in Toronto, is called what?
Toronto Star. Good for you.
Toronto Star. Okay.
Star seems to be the biggest
I
Toronto.
thought I was right about that.
Good for you.
So yeah, and he previously was covering hockey in Edmonton, which also, I mean, that would be the big beat there. But he goes West Coast to East Coast. I mean, this would be the plum assignment, I would think. Certainly in any kind of print journalism, whether and I guess you can include the internet in that. But so he was going to join us. I don't know. We may be able to get a hold of him. It could be a postscript on the series. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because I would like the Panthers to close this out tonight, and I would like the Miami Heat to close their series out tonight. Here we are. Now we were on the bandwagon fully, Lubie. I am like Captain Steubing on a Love Boat here about the local teams. We bitched about them, fetched about them all year long. What a bunch of bums. What a bunch of losers. You sorry pieces of low-life mouse shit. But now, that's our boys. Dave Vincent, my man. Yeah. And we're loving Matt Tkachuk. Everybody loves this cat, and cat being the appropriate term, because he is like the key cat on the Cats.
Yes,
Matt Tkachuk.
Cats. Yep.
And he has changed the culture personally, and almost solely by himself from a team. And I don't know that this was coming from, but we totally underestimated the French Joe Philp and Paul Maurice in terms of his personality and his persona. Because he seemed vapid, he seemed absent, he seemed distant, he seemed just out of sync with whatever was going on out there on the ice all season long. We're watching this guy, and it's a mystery. What the hell does he do? Call a timeout, do something. Yell at a ref.
Until he lost it.
Throw a stick, pound your fist against the glass, kick somebody, scream at somebody, yell at an assistant, grab a guy by the throat, punch another team's player, do something. Do what a hockey coach does. Eat some glass behind the bench there. Just gnawing on a piece like you're a Tkachuk with that mouthpiece, which he never wears. Does this guy have any teeth?
I don't know. He's like Steph Curry on crack.
How does he play that tough game while eating applesauce? I don't know. I guess they all have a pretty good set of false teeth, these hockey players.
Well, that's the thing, is they have a guy.
Who is the team dentist, man? What does he do, man?
He's a busy guy.
He's just making teeth in the back there. Yeah, Tkachuk's always chewing on that thing. It's a Steph Curry thing also. You see other players that do the same thing. So, I mean, but he has changed the entire sort of gist of what the team is all about at this point. All of a sudden, they're pounding people. They're leading, in that hits category that they keep track of. And some of them are, pretty aggressive. No doubt. I mean, to the point where the refs out there going, okay, Gudis, you're going to have to actually hold a hockey stick at some point below your waist, right? As he's out there as if he was Brashear back in the day. Unbelievable. So this toughness came out of nowhere, and both teams are hot. I mean, this is the weird part about it. Both teams all season long never showed this level of consistency or persistence in playing a quality level game day after day, game after game. The Heat have won 8 of their last 10, including that Chicago play-in game, and that's against Milwaukee and now the New York Knicks. 2 teams that were well ahead of them in the standings during the course of the regular season. And the Panthers now have done what? Won 6 in a row in the postseason. They had that little 6-game winning streak, and you would have thought it was time to arrange for a parade down Biscayne Boulevard. And then in the 2 key games that they had at the end of the regular season, if the Penguins don't lose, I guess on the closing game, they might have, did they clinch a spot the night before that? I don't know.
Yeah, but not because of their wins. Remember that they didn't win at the end.
They lost to Toronto in overtime, right?
Yeah, they got help from the Penguins. The Penguins, they got the overtime, which allowed them to have a leg up, but they didn't clinch. They if they had won the last
And
game.
the Penguins lost to some schmink team like the Red Wings. Yeah.
The Penguins lost to like the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Just got the #1 pick after tanking.
Yes.
And this kid, I guess, supposedly the next Sidney Crosby or something.
They all are the next Sidney Crosby. I have the guy's name. It's Connor Bedard.
Bedard, okay, yeah.
Something like that. Connor Bedard. Yeah.
There you go.
I wrote this left-handed, so I can't read it.
Jesus.
If we got it wrong, forgive us.
I think that's it. So, but they beat the Penguins, and that allowed the Panthers to get in. It's very Heat-like, where they really almost didn't make it.
Same story. It's amazing. I mean, really, it has to be. You always say this because it's the latest thing that happened, but
it's up there.
This has to be the most remarkable year that I've seen, having been here since 1981. In terms of across the board South Florida sports, obviously the Dolphins. They started out fast. You thought it was going to be something. It kind of fizzled out like it always does. That was disappointing. We don't necessarily have to factor the Marlins into the equation because they should be on the threshold of firing one of their 3 hitting coaches. Somebody's got to take the fall for what's going on.
Yeah, to totally go off the rails. Your boy Soler. Did you see that? Like a 440-foot bomb. He hit 2 home runs, 5 ribbies. The guy's
capable,
smasher.
I mean, for what they've gotten out of him so far, if he started to make a little bit of a contribution now, that certainly wouldn't be unwarranted based on the amount of money they paid for this guy and, what they were trying to sell you that this was going to do for the team, which, it didn't seem like a bad idea. He just had a really bad year last year.
Yeah.
So, hindsight naturally is the best handicapping tool you can have, is it not?
100%.
I am the best post-race handicapper you will ever find, Lubie. I told you the 2 was going to the front. No, you didn't. You had no clue. Well, in your case, it was like the 3, which ruined you in the Kentucky Derby. All right, so let's get into some predictions, and then later on, we're going to talk to. I don't know. Do I tease this again, or is it going to be? And I'm going to go with yes. What would the S be? Over or under? In a will a guest appear on the program that we promote in advance?
I think so. I was assured in various forms. I didn't ask for the assurance. I was ready to just move on and try again next week. But they were very clear in the fact that they will be on with us today. They will.
I mean, to put this in not misogynistic, but late 60s terminology, we dig talking to this chick. Jessica Blaylock. Yeah, she's good. Does a great job. Covers the Panthers and also does television with the Miami Marlins. And should be able to fill us in on both stories here. But this is a hell of a ride, Lubie. It's one of the best I've seen. I'm trying to think. I guess, 97, you won the World Series. You had the 95, 90. It wasn't all in the same year, though. Where I mean, especially the longest of odds of 2 South Florida college basketball teams being in the same Final Four, or any Final Four for that matter.
It never happened.
Longest of odds. Jim Larinaga, what a great job. Our good friend, man, he does. Every time he comes on the show, I feel like, wow, we're talking to a basketball treasure here. And then, this FAU program comes out of nowhere, right? Nowhere. Who in a million years would have figured that? And that happens, as a precipice to, what's going on now with 2 8 seeds, both with closeout possibilities tonight, Lubie. Absolutely magnificent. Now, how disappointed are we going to be tomorrow? That's the question. How deflating is this show going to be? We're going to roll into the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, and everybody in town is going to be depressed. What do you think? On edge? What kind of wake-up call would this be?
I don't know. It's funny, if any other series is 3-1 and the team up 3-1 loses, I don't think twice about it. But I've got myself in such a, because my expectations were so low that the first round didn't bother me. I was like, look, both teams are going to lose. If they put up a fight, that's great.
Yeah.
So when they won, that was shocking and amazing. The problem is now they're in a situation.
Now we won it. We're thirsty.
That's the thing. They're not only have a chance, they're controlling the series, and anything but an easy victory would be disappointing. So now I'm like anxious and it's annoying. So I if I was looking at series that my team wasn't in, I would see these series continuing to a game, 5 and a game 6. I don't know. These two teams have fought. Like, we don't usually have these teams. Like, when the Panthers were good, yes, the Panthers were this, but it was like 20 something years ago. So I almost forget it. When the Heat are good, they're expected to be good. Like the Heat, every time they made a run, even last year, they were the 1 seed, like the Wade Shaq years. I mean, they were expected to win. The LeBron, if they didn't win a title, it was a fucking failed season. Like,
oh yeah,
the bubble year is the closest thing, but the bubble year, again, the whole time people were just discounting it. So like, as much as we appreciated it, people were like, yeah, this doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? It's the bubble. So that almost made it like some asterisky thing, which again, you and I agree there's no asterisks, but the world made it that. This is new territory for the Heat to be an A seed and then flip a switch. Like if the Heat are an A seed or a 7 seed or not in the playoffs, they're bad. For them to go from whatever the fuck they were to this, I don't know. I'm like totally confused. This is rarefied air for the Heat. Like I really don't know what to do with this team because every time, look, they didn't play well the last game outside of Butler having, look, if you watched the game and didn't know Butler's stat line, you would think he was okay. Like he wasn't aggressive.
Yeah.
He made a lot of stupid mistakes. He was passing up shots. He missed a couple defensive assignments, which is not like him. He sat for long periods of time because the bench with Lowry picked him up. But then he had 27, 8, and 6. Like he had a great line. So it's like, okay. And Vincent sucked. Robinson sucked. Martin was okay. Like all the guys that have really helped propel them these playoffs were
So who shows up tonight? This
I think
Heat
Vincent,
team that all of a sudden looks like it's been infused with new life, or a bunch of stiffs.
I don't know. It's such a weird thing.
Take a beating in New York and then figure, they come back here. I see. I don't know that any team actually, you would be foolish if, you were playing professional sports not to think that you have to go out and close this game out as if it was absolutely desperation time and put everything that you have into it. I don't know. I don't buy the old free pass game, although I guess, we've been trying to play psychiatrists on these kind of shows forever. I'm not sure you can really get inside the head of anybody, but would you not think that you play this game thinking, hey, let's close it out tonight. Don't want to go back to Miami. I want to take a couple of days off and let Philadelphia and Boston beat the living daylights out of each other.
I look both teams because if you're watching the Carolina Hurricane, they're fucking scary right now.
Yeah. No, they look good. I mean, but they just got clobbered by New Jersey the previous game, 8-4. But in the other 3 games, they've looked pretty dominant.
But the other thing is exactly like that series could extend out to 6. If you're the Panthers and you can somehow wrap this up in 4 games, give yourself some time to.
Oh, tonight they have to do it. Tonight's tonight, my friend.
And he's the same thing with Jimmy Butler and his shit. Tyler Hero.
Finishing off in New York. I'm with you. Let's go. Who's with me? I mean, who's with me on this? We're going to finish this thing off. Now it's we.
I love it.
All year long was those stupid bums.
All these injuries they're dealing with, like they could use as much.
Riley's one step away from senility. I mean, all the things that we were saying. Forget about it.
Like
take them all back.
Seems like it's going to stretch out. If you're the Heat, you can somehow end it. That would be big, like because they are battered and bruised. They need as many days off as freaking possible.
It's great. I mean, it really is. I can't say that I anticipated getting this much enjoyment out of these 2 teams. The common wisdom would be to root against the local teams every day, so the people will be angry and up in arms, and we can all go storm the Capitol building. No, we don't want to do that.
That worked well.
By the way, I mean. Yeah, that was an odd development. I was not necessarily not anticipating the result that happened, but this libel thing with your boy Donnie.
He's convicted.
Yeah,
he's literally convicted of something.
It's not really a conviction; it's held liable.
He's not going to prison, but
no, it's a $5 million deal. Yeah, civil case.
He lost the case, and where they have to admit that he did wrong. Like
he looked like a fool in that deposition. He really did.
Well, he lied the whole time.
Was he wearing makeup to a deposition? That was a weird thing.
Probably.
How vain can you be? Don't you want to look like totally disheveled and like you're falling apart at the seams? You can't believe the outrageous accusations that are being held against you or alleged against you. He came off like a pompous fool, and that was all the jury saw. So Marco Rubio, of course, condemned this as a witch hunt. This is some witch hunt they're doing on this guy.
That's my thing. I said to someone else. I'm like, and I went down a list.
Yeah, it's amazing.
A list of things, and I'm like, first of all, And someone actually used the term. I saw them use the term railroad, and no one's been no one. First of all, say no one is just I don't even know what word to use there.
I don't know. He could have, gone there in his defense. He chose not to because it would have been embarrassing, I guess.
There's a list of shit that he's been accused of over the last 40 years. Like a list, like, I'm sorry, 50 years, going to the early 80s. Like, if someone's accused of all these things from all these different parties around the world, remember around the world, he's been accused of these things. So the whole world is in cahoots. The whole world. That can't
Everybody, man. It's all a plot by the Democrats.
Come on, man. Yeah. Like, he was a Democrat. He was a Democrat at the time. And he's been a Republican, and he's been an independent, and he's been a this, and it's his family, and it's friends, and people like every single.
The poor guy. I've never seen a guy take so much abuse. I really,
no, right.
I haven't. I'm beginning to feel a little empathy for old Donnie Trump. I mean, what else can they do to this poor man? It's amazing, and all he's trying to do is help America. Yeah, it's great, man. Every time I see the My Pillow guy, I cringe now too. I mean, not that I didn't before. This guy holding a pillow like this. It's just a weird way that he's holding the pillow, doesn't it? I don't want to say it smacks of perversion, but
it's very creepy.
It's creepy, right? Isn't
it? Like clutching onto it. It's like
yeah. Like you can't let go. Like when you were a little kid, and like you had your favorite pillow. My son had one.
Exactly.
If he didn't have his pillow, he wasn't happy. I mean, he got over that though pretty quickly. I mean, like before he was 3.
Exactly.
2, I guess. I don't know.
He wasn't in.
When do you get over that? Yeah, he wasn't like 60.
I need my pillow. It's like, okay, dude. Okay.
I want my pillow.
We got it, Mike.
Get the fuck out of here.
Leave me the fuck alone.
This is what the world is turning to. I mean, for people, for leadership. I mean, it's crazy. Nice. Oh, they're charging your boy Santos too, today in some kind of federal court.
Thank God. I love that. My favorite is the doubling down. He's like, I would do it all again. It's like, really? You would do it all again. Okay, good for you. I want to be remembered for the good things I've done.
No wonder, I mean, everything is going south. I mean, it's sad to say, with all of the, things that are necessary to be done right now. I mean, to change the course of, where this has been and where it seems to be just continuing to go, exponentially out of control. I mean, talking about the gun violence and all this stuff, but I mean, never mind that. Look at these people. This is what we've turned to. Our fate, my friends, it's right out of the King Crimson song, is in the hands of fools.
Look, Bananas in that album that you reference quite often.
Yeah.
We would have made fun of you 10 years ago for bringing it up because old
Bananas, yeah, exactly.
It's 100% relevant and it's prescient. Like, it's fucking crazy.
All right, let's stick to a little sports here. Yes. Philadelphia and Boston last night.
Yeah, what the hell?
Kind of a surprise, no? I mean, would you not have thought? All right, Philadelphia struggled to win that game 4. They had stolen game 1 in improbable fashion. There with James Harden having a sensational game. No Embiid. Embiid comes back. He doesn't look all that great. Last night he does look great, and so do the 76ers. They hold Boston at bay throughout, Lubie. It was flat there at, what is it, TC Garden that they play in now? It's no longer the Boston Garden. TD Garden. TD Garden. There you go. And, all right. And, it was a little bit of a stunner to me. Did you not find that game somewhat surprising? Philadelphia winning easily and never really being challenged as 7.5-point dogs.
I brought it up with Sean Devin yesterday about Missoula, and I was sort of bullshitting because Missoula's done a good job, but like there's been a lot of questionable things. This team has done this whole last 5 years, 4 year, whatever this run has been. I mean, I guess they started with these guys being young in another group, and then Brown and Tatum became the dudes. But so they've been the dudes, I guess, since the bubble. And they've been consistently good, but they have these moments. That's why, like, when Boston fans get super cocky, I'm like, yeah, but doesn't your team just give away games? And you can't just give away games. It's been my frustration with the Heat until this year. They were a 1 seed and we're giving away games. This is the first time with Jimmy Butler that they don't just get inexplicably, fuck it. Like, you can just see them say, fuck it. Like this, yeah, they didn't win every game versus the Bucks because they shouldn't have, but they didn't just 2 or 3 times where we thought, yeah, they'd lose. Even the games they were down by 15, we're like, yeah, it would make sense for them to lose. They found a way to win. Like the Celtics have done that throughout the playoffs, where they just like That Hawks series shouldn't have gone 7. The Hawks series went 7. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on with the Celtics because they were already good last year. They were in the finals, and they got better. Like, they literally got better. Even I, who can't stand the Celtics, have to admit, shit, they're better.
Yeah.
Like, they don't look better. They look more confused. They look
vulnerable, you would have to say.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that's the thing that makes this a little bit more exciting too. I mean, you're sitting there in the comp spot, and it would be nothing. You know what? Having grown up a Knicks fan, it would be absolutely fantastic to see the Miami Heat just stick it to New York.
New York, yeah.
In Madison Square Garden tonight and close out the series there and just absolutely ruin all of the hopes and dreams of the New York Knickerbocker fan base. Which they're going to be rabid tonight in the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give them that. I mean, they're not going to be sitting on their hands. At what point do they start booing their own team? Down 16 in the third quarter. What do you think, Lubie?
I don't know. They have a thing with Randall, and I guess Mitchell. I didn't realize Mitchell Robinson was their lightning rod, but they don't. I know Randall, especially after the stuff he said the other day. They're not the biggest fans of Julius Randall. He sort of, as a leader guy, is not a leader. So, but they also are good at being delusional.
Yeah.
They're also good at convincing themselves of. Look, have you heard this thing? We haven't talked about this. That started at ESPN, and then I guess they brought it back yesterday about the weather. Like, the weather hasn't been that bad. The games are night, and the games are indoors. Like, these players really go from a hotel to a car to an arena. When are they in the? And I understand they're just grasping at straws, but even grasping at straws.
They were blaming the heat of Miami.
Yes, they were saying the heat,
the regular heat. I thought the implication was that the Miami Heat had turned off the air conditioning in the building or something.
Oh, they're saying the heat of South Florida has
sapped the strength of the Knicks. I think that would be more along the line of women weaken legs.
Yes, if you want to say South Beach,
check the whereabouts of these guys. I doubt any of their activity took place in the daytime. Right? I don't think you would have seen them like sunning themselves on the beach. Not NBA players, man. I would imagine they have a tendency to sleep late. No. Since they're out playing ball at like midnight or whatever, and by the time you wind down from a game, you're on the streets there, and major cities, and you just happen to be a superstar with tons of cash that you can throw around any way that you would like. Did you follow the exploits of the Lakers there when they were the Showtime Lakers? That they were putting on quite a show, various hotel rooms around the country. It was great. You would have wanted to be a part of it if you were into some kind of circus sexual lifestyle. I don't know. That's weak, Lubie. The heat of the daytime temperatures of South Florida was what did in the Knicks. That is a preposterous theory. I don't think I've heard anything weaker ever in terms of excuses. No, the New York Post here is all over it, man. Although Mike Vaccaro, our good friend Mike Vaccaro, his column is a headline, "Bad Taste Left After a Feel-Good Season." He's already got them losing. So they're already thrown in the flowers into the punch.
Look, they're playing the percentages, and the Heat have done this thing where they find a way to not fuck up. So look, they're being smart, and I'm not against that. I think tonight's a wide open game, and I don't know what the hell we're gonna get. What I will say is they did this to themselves. Like, that's the thing. Look, what Brian and Andy are saying is true. It's why Julian is a big follower, and he's not contentious at all. But we sort of got into it at the beginning of the series because I haven't been braggadocious. You remember, I was the one. I didn't call for them to tank because I know they're not going to tank, and you've brought me over. The tanking doesn't really win, especially in the NBA. But I was just ready to see it end because it was painful to watch a team that I know is better than the way they were playing play that way. So I was rooting for them to win, but expected them to lose and was okay with it. So I haven't been cocky at all. But I also didn't understand the cockiness from the Knicks fan. I get it. For the second straight or the second year out of 3 years, they got inside a top 5 seed, and they were winning a series, and they won a series, and that's great. But you should know what your team is. Like, I know when the Heat are like fucking the LeBron Heat, and I know when they're like Dwayne Wade with Lamar Odom Heat. Like, you should know what your team is. This idea that they can beat anyone, I'm like, in a game. But like,
they never showed that there was some elite team that you had to fear. I mean, but that was Milwaukee throughout most of the year, and to a lesser extent, maybe slightly lesser, but Boston and Philadelphia showed those kind of tendencies also. So that was a big ball game by the 76ers last night. They really looked impressive. And, at the junctures in NBA games, usually with a team that's trailing badly at home, suddenly, erases in seconds a 16-point deficit and actually take like a short lead, 2-3 point lead. And then, start to pull away. And you're thinking, how could any team choke like that? It never happened. Philadelphia never let it happen. They kept hitting baskets when they needed them. And, held Boston at bay throughout. The actual final score was probably the closest the Celtics were in the second half there. So they must have won Scribini time, 115-103. Wow. And then you have such doubts about the 76ers as well that, it's not unimaginable that they would lose game 6 at home and send it back to Boston for a game 7, which if you're a Heat fan, I mean, you are praying tonight that the Heat bring it and are out there with the intention of finishing off the series right now.
Oh,
right?
You don't want to fuck around with the Knicks because look again, with the Knicks, and Julian wasn't wrong. What made them good for a regular season team and it doesn't win in the NBA playoffs was they're a great team. They play team and they're together and the hustle and the spirit and they just embody Tom Thibodeau. Yeah, and Tom Thibodeau's team's always lost in the playoffs. They're so gassed. And they don't have enough talent. You need a guy that can just win you a game. You need more. And Brunson's become something I never thought he would be. He still is 5'1", and he's not Iverson 5'1". He's not a freak athlete talent. He's just hard and hustle and can make a good mid-range jumper. Okay, and that keeps you in games, and you don't get embarrassed.
That rebounding too, it was atrocious.
Well, that was just effort,
yeah,
and that's going to be better this game. That's going to be better this game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think will turn the tide in their favor for at least.
That's why they're pointing their finger at Mitchell Robinson.
Good.
He is the key to the game. He's not Truck Robinson either.
He's not 25 rebound and he's not Ben Wallace. I don't know what they're doing with Mitchell Robinson. Nick fans
they're making him a key. Scapegoat. They say he's being abused by Bam Adebayo. Abused. That was the word they used.
Adebayo was a fucking look, and I talk a lot of shit about Bam because of his offensive exploits. But the lack of respect Bam Adebayo gets is the weirdest fucking. Did you see the first team all defensive team? Did you see Brook Lopez is 95? And I get it. He led the league in blocks. Good for Brook Lopez. There's no one in the fucking world that wants Brook Lopez over Bam Adebayo.
No, I wouldn't think so. No.
Mobley, as we saw in the playoffs, isn't ready. He's a nice player. He has a strong future for the Cavs. Again, who's taking fucking Mobley over Bam Adebayo? And I
love when you get excited about it to the point of using Pesci diatribes.
It's just weird. It's and I am as hard on Bam as anyone.
You get into these Twitter arguments all the time with people.
Well, I didn't
and you get deeply into it. It's good that you're still active like this, Lubie. I thought you had given that up. I really did. I thought you were living a much more peaceful and pacified life when it came to rooting for your sports teams. But you like to engage in that sort of stuff. And it offends you that people are underestimating your Miami Heat, your beloved Miami Heat, and saying that, the Knicks are a better team or whatever. The Knicks just don't seem to really prosper in this particular matchup. And they have better known players, I guess, throughout the country. If you consider R.J. Barrett, he had a presence there at Duke, but he hasn't been bad the last couple of years. He's been a decent player, very good. Not my favorite though. It doesn't seem like he's really doing anything out there, and at the key moments. As Tony Segreto would mention, and Tony will be back with us soon for your Tony Segreto fans.
Next week. I think he'll be back next week.
That's what we're banking on. Yeah, no, that's going to be good. But yeah, it does apply there. At the time where you really need the guy to come through, he's not exactly, what Carmelo was when he was there. Which, even Carmelo, as great as he was at Syracuse and winning that national championship, as a pro, was he particularly a clutch player? Would you say? Why do I want to say no to that? He would score a lot of points. He would win his share of games, but he wasn't like a surefire, who was, right? Michael Jordan. That's it. Maybe, a couple of others.
Steph, it's funny what Carmelo did for Syracuse and no one could before or after.
No, never.
Not doing the pros. That's what's so funny.
Jimmy B has lost his mind, by the way. Yeah. The guy, the ramblings of a madman were coming out of his mouth during the course of the season. How crazy was he? Yeah, yeah, Jimmy Larinaga, you bought that team. What happens? I mean, that's the one thing you don't want to have happen to you, as you get older. And I mean, I'm fearing this now, Libby. You don't want to become bitter. Bitter is a lousy way to be, is it not? When you're just walking around and everything makes you bitter, not like most sports fans, because here you are fetching about the disrespect
For
of
the
your Miami Heat, when they're about to like absolutely, laud you with the greatest amount of glorified light, as they maybe move on to the Eastern Conference Finals in a series where they're sort of in there with a shot. No,
Well, that's the thing that's changed is a lot. And I saw someone yesterday, and it's a media guy that we've had on, Ian Thompson, who I actually respect. He's an analyst and he's been a coach before. Say if the Sixers or Celtics lose either the Knicks or Heat, they should be embarrassed. And I'm like, tell me you haven't watched the Heat without telling me you haven't watched it. Like they continue to look. I get it what they were in the regular season, but they're
yeah.
not now. Like, and
No,
both,
they found some kind of spark that wasn't there.
when both
And that's true. Absolutely true.
both you said it, both the Sixers and Celtics are not the teams that we saw for the first 2/3 of the year. They both have issues right now. So, like, what are you talking about? Yeah, they should be favored, but to me, that would be a wide open series. Like, there's no one right now who said he had. I heard Frank Isola say this, and he's not wrong. Like, I don't know about the Knicks, but of the 7 to 8 teams left, anyone could win it, and you wouldn't be like, oh, okay. Like right now, any team in the playoffs has shown signs of looking good and looking anyone.
Yeah, Denver handled that, and that was the question that we asked, and it was a legitimate one. Could Phoenix win a game in Denver? And I was thinking no, and they didn't last night. They were in the game briefly through the half. They must have got clobbered in the third quarter, which I missed, and then they ended up losing 118-102. So, despite the fact that Devin Booker has been outrageously good in the postseason and maybe the best player in the postseason, you could make a case for that. Kevin Durant has been the usual Kevin Durant type of ball player, and spectacular at times, and not enough, right? So Denver, you said this all along, totally overlooked all year long. Pretty deep team, right? Jokic, Jamal Murray. When they're both on their game, they have a decent supporting cast also. So a little bit of depth there, and they get contributions from a lot of different guys, and the advantage of being in a mile-high city.
Altitude. If you're talking about weather or conditions,
Yeah,
I can take.
that may apply, right? Where you're wheezing in the middle of the first quarter, where you need a respirator by the bench for the coach.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference there. Anybody that's been to Colorado, and knows of what we speak, and you're not thinking you're going to experience it because you're thinking, okay, I'm young, athletic, I can handle anything, and then you realize, well, why am I out of gas completely here? And it's definitely getting used to this altitude for sure. Right, that's why we were selling those altitude simulators for a while. Remember that? Altitude International.
I mean, it's a smart idea. It actually works, I would think. A lot of
Yeah,
people are seeing it on the professional scene.
they were on the cusp of something. I mean, every team that plays the Denver Nuggets should have one of these simulators in their facility there, so at least they get accustomed to it like a couple of days before. No, come on, Louis, let's get back in touch with those people.
They actually reached
Saw a
out
bunch of those.
to
Yeah,
want us to have the president on again, and I was like, okay. I don't know what that's going to
yeah.
do.
Its stock became relatively light in terms of its value, unfortunately. But bound to resurrect themselves. I mean, they were onto something good. Yeah, that would be a home court advantage where it related to weather. This business, I can't believe that's the most preposterous thing I've ever heard.
Jalen Rose,
An NBA team who put that out there?
Jalen Rose, was it after the series started?
He said that the heat of the day in Miami was
Game
doing
3.
in the New York Knicks.
Game 3, Jalen Rose brought that up, right?
That's a ridiculous comment. I mean, it just is.
Brought that up, and he got laughed at across the world. Then, yesterday,
I mean, is that just a result of being on too many shows? That could be a byproduct where you finally say, you know what, let me say something outrageously stupid.
yeah.
I mean, I look like, the who was it? The Palin, right? That was saying,
oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I can see I can see Russia from my.
I can see it from my house, man. My backyard. There's Putin flying by right now. Hey, Vlad, want to stop in? We'll talk policy. Seem to have the same set of views.
Honestly.
No, it's crazy. That's a ludicrous thing to. What would make anybody, for 1 second, think that was going to be a
What
factor?
made it worse was Rose brought it up after, I guess, game 3. And then after game 4, Mike Greenberg yesterday seconded it. He's like,
the Heat. Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I'm like, you're getting into depths now where you literally want to talk about the Knicks so much and ignore the Heat so much that you're saying stuff that literally is not possible. He seconded it. It's something about the weather, and it's doing is the weather. Dude, it was 80s. It's not even. This isn't like fucking August. And they're playing inside.
When did these guys leave the hotel? I mean, they probably, only to go out after the game, right? I would say the women weakened legs angle is probably far more prominent. Although I don't know that they look particularly sluggish in those games in Miami. They looked like they did in New York, didn't they? They lost the first game. And, we're life and death without Jimmy Butler in the lineup to win the second game.
Oh, it's still cold there, right? It's still cold in New York. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I mean, let me think. Have I seen any shots in New York? Yeah. People are like wearing jackets in New York.
Okay. So they're not used to the heat.
But they've had their share of warm weather.
Okay. Didn't they dominate the Heat in the playoffs all those years? And
you would think it would invigorate you, right? The sunshine at first, before it starts beating you down, where you don't even want to go outside. Like I'm like Count Dracula now. I open the door. It's like It's light, right? Like when Papillon was getting out of solitary, and they opened the thing. It was like, oh my God, you go blind. I mean, some young guy that comes down here. Some young guy. There you go. The famous Chinese dish comes down here, and he's walking around, wherever, Coconut Grove, and having a good time. In beautiful sunshine, coming down from New York. Get out of here.
I don't know. They're grasping. It's fucking weird.
Blame it on a knish, that some guy ate. I mean, that's just as absurd. Anyway, let's hope it happens, Lubie. What's your prediction? How good do you feel about it? You don't feel good about the Heat in New York tonight. You think Spike Lee is going to get involved. And Panthers closing out Toronto. Toronto, amazingly, I mean, the audacity of these line makers. Once again, to just dangle that in front of your face here, that we don't respect you at all.
No, not at all.
And the Maple Leafs are slight favorites tonight. To I guess under the theory that can they really lose 4 in a row, these schmanks? Why not? All the games have been winnable by Toronto. You would say that they were in there with a shot in all of those games, were they not? I mean, I guess the first game was what 4-2. So and that one, the Panthers, the other two, the Panthers came from behind.
Yes,
in both games. So they were down 2-0, and then we're down a goal a couple of different times in this last game that they won in overtime. So yeah, I mean, is it possible? It's a very close series, actually. Just that the Panthers they're talking about the lack of grit, my friend. Never mind puck management. The lack of grit on that Toronto team. The very quality that the Panthers were seeking in the offseason during the acquisition of the great Matt Tkachuk. See, I mean, what's great? We didn't know shit about this, what, 4 weeks ago? Nothing.
A month and a half ago.
I mean, guy could call in and go, hey, Defo and Lubie, what's wrong with the Panthers? Hey, how else should we know? Now we know everything, man.
I just say Bobrovsky. That's what I would always say. Oh, fucking. Yeah.
It is pretty fascinating. I mean, and the Carolina Hurricanes are now in command of their series 3-1 over New Jersey.
Yesterday.
They look pretty good. That'll be a challenge if the Panthers can get by Toronto, which we're expecting they will. And would love to see that happen. Home ice tonight. And then get a little rest in before this Carolina series, if that's what it turns out to be. Maybe even hope New Jersey finds a way to win another game. What do you think? You don't think about that?
Well, no, that's the thing is, as much as Carolina was dominant yesterday, you said it 2 games ago, they weren't. I mean, the Panthers can
2 games ago they got shellacked, but that was out of character in the series. That they've controlled the other games.
Panthers can get through this. That would be amazing because you can get that extended out. That would be tremendous because Carolina is not messing around. And I thought the Maple Leafs weren't either, but you said it. They actually struggled against the Lightning to the point where they really could have lost.
They got very lucky to win that series. The 4-2 margin was deceptive. That could have easily gone 7, and it could have easily been Tampa Bay's series in 6. Tampa Bay literally threw 2 games away. Just absolutely spit the bit. Now, Toronto took advantage of it, and they haven't been able to do that in those last-minute scrambles. They haven't had that kind of good fortune against the Florida Panthers. They were putting immense pressure on when they went empty net, and twice came back and tied the Tampa Bay Lightning in games. I believe both those games were in Tampa, and then won them in overtime. So here we are, the hockey experts on the Defo show. It's unbelievable. Just knocking it out of the park. We didn't know, absolute squadooch about any of this until now, where we really have this down. The Panthers, not the Panthers, the Maple Leafs, by the way, they're supposedly, there's an impasse with their general manager, and the Rangers want to swoop in and get their coach, possibly. That's the speculation out there. So, that dead carcass that you will see in the Pantherland parking lot, which was $35 to get into, just take the dead body out with you and send it to New York, the casket, because that's where he's going to be resurrected, at least in terms of his hockey coaching career life. That's what the speculation is today. They've already speculated that the series is over and this guy's going to get canned. It's great. You have to love, any kind of sports talk. It's all based on the ridiculous, like that the weather could possibly have affected the New York Knicks in their 2 games here. All right, so very exciting night on tap, and we'll talk about that some more. And also, Scoop Skolnick going to join us about 8:20, so we'll get his expert insight into what's going on in this Miami Heat Knicks series. And then after that, dare we say it, Lubie? Jessica Blaylock.
Oh, from what I know, she'll be on.
This is Jessica Blaylock, day 3.
She's assured me that she'll be on.
We'll see if we can get a hold of her. All right. No, that'd be great. Does a terrific job there with the Florida Panthers, and has been all over this series there against the Maple Leafs. All right. If you're looking for a good time, Hialeah Park is a great place to go. It is fantastic there. I love it every time I go down there because it does, as we say, jog the memory bank of all of the great times that we've had at Hialeah Park in the past. But it's the present and the future with Hialeah Park right now. They did an incredible synthesis of the old and the new, and a symbiotic relationship between the old traditional look of Hialeah Park and the gleaming new and dazzling casino that they have, which offers the best in rewards programs. Get yourself a player's card. You're going to love all of the action that you get on that. And offers you all of your favorite Vegas-style games. Everything. Craps, roulette, blackjack. You want to play the slot machines. They have zillions of those. It's absolutely fantastic. Poker room is great. Champion simulcasting room, a terrific setup. If you're getting involved in a Preakness in not even a couple of weeks. It's like a week and a half away. Preakness Stakes, second leg of racing's Triple Crown Series. Should be a very interesting race. I don't know who's going to be. Should be some new shooters there, as my friend the Polyman would say. We shall see. But a great place to take it all in, and the festivities is beautiful, Hialeah Park. And any kind of special occasion, they cater the events. It's a perfect place to hold events. You're really going to love it. Everything that you can do with all of the different amenities that they offer as a site for functions at Hialeah Park. Check that out at HialeahPark.com, and always make sure that you plan to have yourself a good time at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Going to be joined by Scoop Skolnick, and also the lovely Jessica Blaylock is going to be with us here on the show. At least
May have posted odds on Blaylock.
What would they be?
Plus 130.
It's fair. You know what? He's got a pretty good line on that. I'm going to say I'm going to take the plus 130.
She's gonna be on. I talked to her. This is the other 2 times I knew she was good. She wanted to come on, but I knew she had late nights. She didn't have a late night yesterday.
Yeah.
The times were during the day, and the Panthers didn't play. So
this is a little like being on the phone with that Alabama baseball coach as you're at the sports book at the Meadowlands and going, what do you mean Arnie's pitching? You said it was going to be Joe. Right? And how weird is that, man, where the guy like swaps pitchers at the last second in a college baseball game, right? You know who's pitching. Come on. All of a sudden he calls the guy in. Hey, Johnny, you're out. Joe, grab a ball. Yeah, no, get loose right now. You're going to start. Tanking, man. Unbelievable. All these cats in Iowa, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to be the eventual path of all of this gambling that's integrated itself so warmly embraced by the powers that be in all sports, except when their guys get involved?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Lubie?
At some point, not. At some point, you're gonna have to make strict rules, but you're gonna have to you can't say that it's okay. First of all, if it's legal, it's legal. Okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Second, if it's okay if you're pushing the crap, you want them to do ad, or you want every celebrity known to man to do an ad for it on your behalf.
Everybody's betting their brains out at all times.
Like, come on, like you're okay.
Guys filming, a love scene in an X-rated film. And all of a sudden, in the middle of like orgasm, he goes, "Oh, look at that. It's a double orgasm. The Giants won tonight. 4-3 over the Mets." You're like, what? I mean, everybody's betting like at all times, according to, the way that these leagues would have you perceive it. And the disclaimer at the end, I don't know. It's getting weaker and weaker, Lubie. Almost impossible to read. Would you agree? And if there was the slightest chance that after all of this you may have developed an inclination to have a gambling problem, we're here to help.
That's like, you have a gambling problem. It's like you just spent the last 28 of 30 seconds.
No guy with a gambling problem admits to having a gambling problem. Do I have a gambling problem, Lumi? No. Ask my mother. May she rest in peace. My God. I mean, her biggest fear was some of that inheritance capital, would go up and smoke at a local racetrack, which unfortunately, I would have to say, certain percentages have probably been spent on the entertainment value that you get derived from losing money at the track. No, Louis?
Certain percentage. I like that term. That's like late game resiliency.
You need that late game resiliency. When you're a degenerate gambler, you have to be good in the end game. I mean, if you're one of those guys that gets clobbered at the end of the night, what good did it do you to be ahead all day? Right?
Exactly. Andy's right. It's not a gambling problem. It's a losing problem. When you're winning, there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong. It's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, what a feeling, man. I can't wait to collect my half. I'm thinking of ways to invite my buddy out for a drink so I can collect my half of the Kentucky Derby score. Hey, why don't we watch the? That's going to be my suggestion, actually, that we watch the games tonight together at Stingers. Which, by the way, a nice time, Dave B. That is one of the good things to do. Just cruise up and down the intercoastal there.
Yeah, it was a nice day yesterday too.
Yeah, it was hot as hell, man. There's no question. There's no amount of sunscreen that can save you. Well, none. I mean, it's straight off to the dermatologist, and just have them start removing shit. Don't even, send it to the lab. Hey, Doc, get your scalpel out, man. We're going to be cutting. You need like Stitch Duran at the end of the session there.
It's not even worth it.
Patch you back up. Right here, the eye. I can't see. Go ahead and pop it, Lou.
Oh my God.
All right, we're getting out of here for a while. We're losing our mind. Scoop Skolnick, he'll zero in on the Miami Heat series with the Knicks and the other stuff that's going on in basketball, of course. And you do have what? Are the Lakers in action again tonight against Golden State? It seems like they're going every other night now.
Yeah.
These series. All right, good. They've gone rapid speed, as they said in the Ben-Hur movie. All right, so we'll have Scoop on, and he'll be able to enlighten us on a lot of that stuff. And then at plus 130, Jessica Blaylock. Yes or no, Louie? You're saying yes.
Yes. I'm very confident. I've told you unless I was confident she was coming on.
Yeah. That's your FanDuel parlay right there. Well, Jessica Blaylock, follow Scoop Skolnick on the show. The Mayo Lunchbox, we're looking forward to this one today, are we not? Pizza Spot, are we in on that?
Yeah. Mayo was like, his Defo late scratch due to the hand. I'm like, no, Defo could have no hands. He'd find a way to get out there. He loves that freaking veggie.
That veggie pie, man, is calling my name. It really is. That's a good little place, man.
That place is great.
A different, different take on pizza. And maybe it isn't everybody's bag. That's for sure. But I like the whole thing with the the crust the way that it is. Some people would say burnt, but
I don't like burnt things, but it's not burnt. The way they do it,
what's the proper term for that? Mayo knows the term.
Charred.
Charred. Yeah, that's good. Charred.
Because that's the difference.
Charred it is. It's definitely charred.
Yeah, but it's good. I don't give a shit.
I mean, if you don't like it, you could be like any other little kid. Just eat it up to the crust and then toss that. Who knows?
Well, make it how you want it. It's just it tastes better that way. There's a reason restaurants do things. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, the guy's toppings are really spectacular, though.
He's not chintz, and he puts a good amount of sauce. That's the other issue with pizza. A lot of the time, I love a good amount of sauce. I usually just like, and it's like, no, I want sauce on the fucking pizza. Like they put a nice amount of sauce. Like,
really a good spot. All right, looking forward to that. That'll be good. Stay on the sun though today. The pizza spot. Remember, everybody was schwitzing when Mayo made us eat those, double hot cherry pepper bomb pizzas.
Hot shit. Yeah, it's a lot.
Even Nikki Mohan, man. I mean, she has island blood in her stream, and she was like schwitzing. The whole place, everybody was schwitzing. Everybody was schwitzing. Schwitzing USA. Yeah. I mean, water. All right. We're coming back with more in a moment. Now that. Plus 130 on Jessica. That's a good price. It's 802.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
You know what I'm going to do? Because you don't ever give me a face shake. You know that? So I'm going to let you talk to Victor Ortiz, all right? I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you
talking
heard
about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know about boxing. You ain't you not.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
That would have been something, huh? Larry Merchant had taken a swing at Floyd Money Mayweather.
So bad.
That was after the Victor Ortiz fight, which was a total disgrace.
That was
one of a series of travesties that we, all foolishly paid money for, thinking that this would be the time that somebody gave Mayweather a fight. It's a shame, too, because people remember Mayweather as being kind of a boring fighter, which he wasn't when he was up and coming. Money Mayweather. He's very exciting. He took on a lot of challenges. And as I've often mentioned, when we were calling that fight down at a Native American gambling establishment, south, here, or well south, unfortunately, there was a little bit of an impasse between the people representing my interests and theirs, I guess. But, and they had the federal government, on their side. So whatever the case was, it was a witch hunt. I mean, just a flat out witch hunt all the way.
You know how Trump feels. I mean, you actually legitimately do, but I'm sure he does too.
Unbelievable. We got to call a Mayweather fight against Angel Man Freddy. Angel Man Freddy was favored in this fight because people weren't aware of how good Floyd Money Mayweather was. I'm calling the fight with the great Eddie Kaplan, a very astute observer of all sports, and particularly sharp in terms of his knowledge of boxing and boxing history. And he and I both agreed that we had never quite seen anything like this, the way that Money Mayweather smoked Angel Manfredi in 2 rounds that night. And you looked and you said, my God, this guy has all the talent in the world. The one thing that we didn't know was, how steady or sturdy his chin would be, because nobody ever hit the guy. So, but accurate puncher. I mean, that's a big thing in boxing. Money Mayweather was as accurate a puncher as we've seen. And then, unfortunately, when people started, watching all of these pay-per-view fights, he didn't really throw any punches anymore. Just kind of lackadaisically out defending and out maneuvering a guy, doing enough to win the rounds on the scorecards, and then getting a decision, as you said. Okay, people, can you leave now, please? and did anybody leave their 20 in the cookie jar? Come on, you were trying to recoup some of the money that you had just wasted on this fight. Incredible. Everybody drinks your booze.
That was the end of me caring about boxing. It's funny. I actually was trying to think, because I used to watch every fight. We pay for fights. And I was like, the last few years, I haven't given a shit. And there have been plenty of good fights and plenty of, it still exists.
Yes.
Mayweather bored me to sleep. I was like, there was too many Mayweather, because Canelo became the next guy. And then he started.
Canelo, same thing. Just,
Oh my God. It just got boring.
Yeah. Mismatched opponents, guys that were, closer to deceased than they were to their prime, that kind of thing. But it didn't take away. Mayweather was great at what he did. And, then he made all that money. I mean, obviously, it does seem outrageous, doesn't it? I mean, this guy was getting like 100 million pay-per-views or 1 million pay-per-views at $100 a pop. So, whatever his cut was, he obviously negotiated himself a pretty good deal and managed to keep some of the money somehow. Money Mayweather. Yeah. So good for him. Anyway, well, it wasn't necessarily, I mean, turned himself into an even more despicable character. Everybody wanted to see him get the shit beat out of him. No.
Yeah, it's annoying.
We were thinking Victor Ortiz could do it. We were thinking Juan Manuel Marquez could do it. Everybody, right? That took a shot at this guy. And, he just did that little shoulder roll thing that Lubie likes to do.
I hate it.
And that was it. Threw a couple of punches here and there. And then the thing with Conor McGregor, I mean, think about that. What an outrage, right? Isn't it amazing that a guy can have a career in a tough sport? I mean, it's not like Mayweather's career, what was some magic carpet ride either. I mean, he did take on some tough guys. This Manfredi was supposed to beat the snot out of him. But, it turned out to be just the opposite. So that was, largely to his credit. But then at the end, you end up making money as a circus act.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, the stuff with McGregor. I was like, what? Who gives a shit about
McGregor? This guy's training on Taco Bell and and going out all night long to strip clubs. And McGregor is like dedicated, like Clubber Lang, man. And you're thinking this guy has no chance.
And he still beat him.
Mayweather's eating a hot dog between rounds, like he had a couple of sent over from Pink's, down the strip. Yeah, give me a couple of those chili dogs, like he was Wendell Tyler at UCLA.
He was like Duran.
that was one of the great food references when Wendell Tyler, after having a particularly poor game at UCLA, said the reason for it was that he had a couple of Pink's hot dogs on his way to the game.
That'll do
Which
it.
that would do it, man. I mean, it's not like you're Joey Chestnut there.
Telling you right now, if I go have a plate of Skyline, I don't know if I'm going to be scoring 35.
Imagine, right? Joe Burrow. Don't they eat Skyline chili? I mean, we've seen that when they've had like so-called war room shots of the Cincinnati Bengals in operation. They got a bunch of Skyline chili in there.
Yeah, but the players don't. Whenever they'll do interviews with Cincinnati players, and the players are always like, I've never had it.
Disappointing is all I would say. Is it edible? I suppose yes.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as some people say, but
it doesn't look as good as, it doesn't come off as good as it looks.
Yes.
Right? If you like that kind of real junk food, right?
Yes. I love a chili dog. I love a really good chili dog, and they put a crap load of cheese, and you're like, oh my God. But then there's like that weird, the cinnamon nutmeg, whatever the fuck they do with that is a weird ass flavor. It like changes the whole.
Whose asinine idea was that? Was to ruin your entire concept of chili?
I don't even care about the Mayo.
It's right up there with the Four Corners with Dean Smith, Skyline chili.
Like Mayo focuses on, well, it's not really a chili. I don't care about the consistency because I've had chili of all kinds. Like, I don't mind beanless chili. I like it with beans. I accept it both ways. So it's not the consistency. There's a weird flavor in it. And Mayo told us, it's like fucking cinnamon or nutmeg. It's like, what?
Yeah, you got to be a bit of a contrarian to be a food critic anyway, right?
No, 100%.
I mean, no matter what the public thinks, you're going to throw something else out there. I mean, look, it's not chili. That's just a plain, simple fact. Just isn't. Just like, Mayo was arguing about the cheesesteak versus that Mayo sandwich he has at Wicked Cheesesteaks, which is a completely different type of sandwich in my estimation. If you like that better, that's fine. It doesn't mean that like a cheesesteak is not the, like the state bird there in Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I mean, it's an atrocity. There's no question. But that was a great food excuse. Pink's hot dogs. And that's what Mayweather said, Downing, didn't he have a couple of dogs? Like he told Uncle Floyd, to go ahead and, get him a couple of Pink's hot dogs in between rounds there. And McGregor is like huffing and puffing. And this was this mixed martial artist that was training, like running 800 miles a day. And, you kept seeing him doing all of this, Terrell Owens type of stuff where he's on, sit up number 3,000. And that's it, man. Fell apart at the seams to, Money Mayweather, who had been washed up for years.
Yes, I was going to say Mayweather hadn't had a knockout in a decade. And he finally got a knockout. Oh, good for you. He like fell into a knockout.
Hundreds of millions they made, Lubie.
I watched the thing. My brother-in-law, who doesn't give a shit about sports, had a party, and I remember watching it. It
was Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs all over again, wasn't it? A gimmick thing that look how this guy Jake Paul is cashing in.
That's when I'm proud of myself. That
they pass him off as a legitimate boxer.
No, I'm good. Either of the Pauls, Jake or Logan, I don't give a shit.
Oh no, Logan's dropped out, man. He's like the Petronellis now. Just wears a hairpiece and sits in the corner there. Tells Marvin Hagler, "Yeah, you're doing a nice job, kid. Go get him, champ."
Oh my god,
crazy stuff. All right, we're going to come back in just a few moments here with Ethan Scoop Skolnick. Should be a lot of fun. Scoop Skolnick, deeply entrenched in everything about any Heat minutia. Scoop Skolnick is on top of it. It really does a great job in all of his coverage. So we'll get to the skinny here. I can't. I mean, I don't want to say this because it'll absolutely put the kibosh on the series, won't it?
I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I would rather you stay away. But
you can't see the Heat losing the series. Is that possible? Is that a statement we should make with, bold certainty?
I mean, you can. I'm not saying it. I really don't know. I mean, the Knicks were the hurt hustle team all year, and that literally is why the rebounding didn't happen. So I would presume they're going to be more full of piss and vinegar today and all that bullshit. So I really don't know if it ends today. You're up 3-1, and you have the best player in the series in Jimmy Butler. So you would think they should win the series. Yes.
There have been some wild inconsistencies in all of these series, though. Not necessarily all of them, but in a lot of them, where you get a team blown out by 20 one night and they come back and win by 30 the next, like happened to Golden State and the Lakers. We've seen this a couple of times, right? I mean, Boston dominates Philadelphia in that one game in Philadelphia, and then nearly wins the other one, and then goes and gets blown out on their home court. Weird, inexplicable results that don't normally go along with the very milk of magnesia-esque and chalk-eating National Basketball Association. Speaking of food references, right? I mean, you're out there just gargling with Pepto-Bismol, swallowing chalk all night long. Except all of a sudden, it's kind of become a little bit more wide open, no? Where, as you were saying, if this guy's illusion was that any team that's left in the playoffs could still win it, trying to think. I would not think that the Knicks could win the title. Knicks, even if they got by the Heat somehow. They would have to show a miraculous resolve here to come back and win this series.
Yeah, the Knicks are the one team I'm not too sure about, but I don't know.
I wouldn't see the Knicks if they managed to beat the Heat somehow, beating either Boston or Philadelphia.
I wouldn't. But again, if I can see the Heat beating them and the Knicks can beat the Heat, then sure, I give them a chance. No team looks dominant, put it this way. No team looks like a team of history or a team of greatness. Like even whatever team wins, they'll be the champion, but I don't know if I would call them a great team. All these teams have gaping holes. The Lakers seem sort of close to it. But again, they're the 7th seed and they struggled. So to me,
Well, and tonight, I mean, not expected to do much according to the odds makers against Golden State. Golden State, I think, heavily favored in that ball game. Like, is it 6 and a hook, something like that, over the Lakers tonight? Where the Lakers just beat them by like 30 points. Now I know this thing reverts back to San Francisco. The Warriors are 6 and a hook over the Lakers tonight at home. What do you think, Libby?
I think
Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, Klay Thompson had 9 points in the last game. He
Yeah.
had 9 points in 41 minutes. Like, what
He
the
was
hell?
horrendous. Yeah, he had a horrible game. All right, we'll see how that plays out. I'm kind of rooting for the Lakers, so it would look like I was right about something. I am a LeBron fan of his basketball for sure.
I do. I wanted to tweet this the other day and I got busy, so I didn't. But it's at some point, like, whether you like him or you hate him, don't you just take a step back and go, shit, this guy's still doing this? Like, at some point, I feel like we all, as sports fans, should just enjoy what the hell he's doing, because he's fucking
It's 20 years at this level. It's incredible.
And he didn't take time off, and he didn't, even when he was injured, he didn't miss a time. He never, every great player, including Jordan, missed a season or a half. The most he missed was like maybe a month or a month and a half. Like, he's never had a big injury. He's played 20 straight years. He didn't do any other retiring stuff. Every year, even the years they haven't made the playoffs, they had signs, like, and he's always great.
He brings it every night too. I mean,
crazy.
I don't know. Maybe when he was sulking a little bit when he was unhappy with Spoelstra.
Yeah, but even then, he's always.
But he brings it. I mean, every night you watch this guy play. It's not like he's giving you a half-assed effort ever. He's involved and it takes it seriously. I mean, real scientific about the whole game. When you hear him speak about what was going on, they could ask him. It's like when we talk to these basketball coaches and they remember every freaking play. He'll go back, through history, I would imagine, and be able to, cite you chapter and verse what was happening on a zillion obscure basketball plays that have taken place in his career. So really dedicated to it. I mean, a true professional. You have to respect that out of LeBron James. And look, we've said this since he came in the league. Any team that he's on is immediately a contender. Anybody that wants to knock this guy, every team that he's on is immediately a contender for a championship.
When he brings it, it's not like he's this great player that he plays the games and he's great in the games. Like, look, I just, the fact that he's still he's still, if you watch his game, when these guys get older, they change their game. He's a better shooter than he was. He still gets to the basket at will at 38 years old. It's like, yeah, that's fucking nuts.
Runs on the break. Good passer. Rebounds. I mean, he's exciting to watch here. And Anthony Davis has been a little bit up and down in the postseason when he's had good games, which has been most of the time. The Lakers are very much alive. So I would like to see that happen where they get by Golden State. I don't know that anybody's going to win games in Denver. Denver has a phenomenal home record, as you might imagine. And I think they're going to be tough to beat when they hold home court advantage. So there would be one reason to have played the regular season well.
Yes,
is that I think that gives them that they have the biggest home court advantage, I would say, based on the whole altitude thing.
They have an actual climate/weather.
Teams break down, man. The Suns were right there, and they got into the third quarter, and that was it.
Yeah, it's hard to hang with them throughout the whole thing.
10-4, over and out. All right, coming back in just a moment. Scoop Skolnick going to join us. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, but we'll get a deep dive through the eyes of the Scoopster on what's going to happen tonight, possibly between the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat, and where do we go from here? And we'll come back with that in a moment. Now that
the time,
it's 8:19.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitsch, just reading a note here from Lubie on our little private chat line here where we send each other cues as to what the hell is going on out there. The old Vince Lombardi thing. Scoop Skolnick coming up shortly here on the program. Jessica Blaylock at plus 130 going to join us. Well, no, that's the odds of her joining us. You get plus 130. Plus 130 if you say yes on this. Is that the way the line reads, or are you having to lay a price if you think she's coming on the show?
I think it's plus 130 that she will be on.
Okay, all right. So you're getting a price, right?
Yes.
So the odds are whether shining us again, one more time on the program today. Okay, good. This is great because we're 1 for 1 on guest acquisition here on the program. And look at that, a handsome man himself, Ethan Scoop Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, joins us here on the show. Scoop, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good to be with you guys. Lubie looks particularly handsome this morning, I would say.
He does. He comes across well. It's amazing. Weed eater that he uses, his barber uses, though, unfortunately, has got his hair looking pretty short. All right. I mean, what kind of short list is left for the New York Knicks and their fans and their hopes? Now, are you in New York? Are you up there covering the game tonight?
No. Well, their short list is Cancun, Cabo, or or one of those other tropical locations at this point. No, I'm not in New York. If it had been 2-2, I probably would have made the trip. But honestly, we'll just wait to see how this thing plays out tonight. I'm not anticipating the Knicks putting up a great fight, I guess.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. It just feels like the Randall comments after the game about how they wanted more and all that. Yeah, and they were weird, and they weren't like I'm going to inspire my team to want it more. It's kind of like, nah, they just wanted more. Okay, that's sort of how it felt to me. I don't think the Knicks have enough. I said this before the series. This Heat team, for all of their flaws, and they are still a flawed team. At this point, they know what they are, and they're getting to some of the things they didn't get to in the regular season. And the Knicks, I think, their limitations have been shown here. And I think, we thought before the series that if they had a chance, their bench had to dominate. They had to dominate the second chance points. Actually, neither of those two things has happened. In fact, the Heat dominated both in the last game. And the thing that gets me is that the game that Jimmy Butler didn't play, Miami could have stolen that game, absolutely should have stolen that game. And I didn't even think Jimmy played that well in this last game. To me, he was like a B to B minus for him. And I still never felt like the Knicks were going to win that game in the fourth. Like it still felt like the Heat had control of that situation. So, look, we'll see tonight. But I think Miami wants to get this over with. They're starting to get into that bigger aspiration phase. And what's going on in the other series with Philadelphia leading Boston, which, that could flip back to a game 7 now. But there's a chance for Miami to finish this and get more rest now than their opponent, which would be a good thing also. You can rest Jimmy, you can rest Bam. So I think they're going to go up there and get this done tonight.
All right.
The one thing was the two things you said that was surprising is the Knicks got here on hard and hustle, and the Heat struggled with that all year. And the last couple of games, offensive rebounding is literally a hustle stat, and they led in rebounding in general, both games, and they dominated rebounding. It's literally why they won. The last game was the rebounding in really the fourth quarter. The thing that should not be surprising, but was seeing Bam be aggressive. Now we're hearing between hamstrings and shoulders, he is banged up and he's out there. So that does affect your aggressiveness. He was very aggressive in the last game.
Yeah.
The issue for Bam has been not that he can be aggressive, because we saw it in the finals. We saw it in the conference finals. We saw it last year in the Celtics when everyone was hurt. Bam took over and really put them on his back. But then the next game, he goes back to being an 8 guy. Like, do you see possibly that Bam, they get in his head, dude, you showed us you can do it. You gotta do it. It's just frustrating.
I can't. I mean, I'm kind of done being Bam's psychologist. I don't.
Get out.
I mean, look, after the game the other night in the locker room, after his presser was done, after he got rid of us, Kyle went up to Bam and, put his hand on his back and made sure he heard him and said, I appreciate you. I feel like there is a lot of this kind of, growing Bam thing going on in that locker room where they're trying to keep him at this level and keep him at this level of aggressiveness. Will he actually heat it when the game starts? I don't know. His natural inclination is kind of to go the other way. So I can't guarantee that. What I can guarantee is that Jimmy's going to want to kill this thing off tonight. And I think the role guys in particular, we did an episode last night where we actually kind of on 5 on the floor, we kind of struggled to come up with who's been the most important X factor role player in the postseason so far, because there were really 5 options. Strus has been great the last 3 games. Martin's been great throughout the playoffs. Vincent hasn't shot the ball particularly well, but he's making Brunson's life hell ever since Spoelstra made the switch there. And Love has been terrific. He changed the game with his outlet passes. And then I actually think the most important role guy for them,
Lowry.
Is Lowry, even though he's not really a role guy, but he's accepted this role now. So, I mean, I think where they're at right now is they're kind of all accepting where they ended up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the beginning of the season where there were these ambitions for particular players. I just think it's like, okay, we're going to do what we do well, and then we're going to let the other guys do what they do well. And they really have bought in. I mean, there's a lot of cliched stuff that was coming out of the locker room, but I think they actually believe it at this stage. And they have the better coach in this series. And I like Tibbs. I've always liked Tibbs. I think that Tibbs is great at creating a program for you in your organization, creating structure. He did it with Chicago. He did it with New York. But when you get into these matchup game situations, he's not the best. He sort of takes an extra game, whereas Spoelstra takes maybe a quarter. It's just a different level of processing here. And you look at Tibbs's. I mean, okay, so he's doubled Jimmy. It hasn't worked. What's next? He made the starting lineup change. He put Grimes in the starting lineup, created some more space. They kind of got blown out of the water to start the game. So it's just, and even the last game, like you talk about inclinations. His inclination is just to drive a guy into the ground. So he hasn't really done that this season. But then in this last game, he's got McBride, he's got Rose, he's got Fournier, all of whom he could play and place him quickly. He ended up playing Brunson 44 minutes and 44 and a half minutes and gave 3.5 minutes to McBride, nothing to Rose, nothing to Fournier. And I thought Brunson, among others, was gassed at the end of that game. So I just think he's getting out coached right now. I think the Heat know they have the better coach in the series. They know they have the best star in the series. I really think they win tonight. I do, and which means they'll lose. But I've actually been right about this particular series. I looked at the Knicks, and I'm like, okay, the Heat just did this to Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, and Brooke. Okay, well, Randall, Brunson, who are we talking about? Barrett,
RJ
Barrett and Robinson are all like, they're not dime store versions, but they're like the Ross version, right? Of what we just saw with the Bucks. They're not. None of those 4 guys are at the level of the guy that they're being compared to. Not quite the level. So if the Heat were able to handle that quartet, why wouldn't they be able to handle this quartet? That's kind of the way I looked at it. And I thought Cleveland was just not ready. And I think that's why the Knicks rolled them.
Shots of Thibodeau are my favorite elements in the series. I mean, what we thought, Shirley, and we did, actually do some research on this. Right next to the word schlep in the dictionary is a picture of Tom Thibodeau. He looks like this degenerate rabbi that I used to see at the Jamaica OTB. Even
do those two
before
words
they
go
had like
together?
screens
Wait,
there?
hold on a second. Hold on, I'm going to stop you.
Defo had a degenerate rabbi. That's why.
But if he's a degenerate rabbi, how is he still a rabbi? That's what I don't understand. Like, what is?
Oh, believe me, I mean, in Brooklyn, where I grew up, the rabbis were making bread. That's where you got most of your bets in.
Shabbat shalom,
especially on the
Shabbat
out of town
shalom,
stuff. Yeah,
I like Shabbat shalom in the fourth. There you go. Okay, there you go.
You don't think there was any bookmaking going on out of the Temple Beth Yam there? I mean,
probably.
Yeah, I mean there was a boiler room, underneath the Hebrew school where I was growing up. But I mean, it does look like he's just had it, man. He looks like a shot fighter.
Yeah.
Now he always looks that way. We were talking about this earlier, where you would try to see what horses look good in the paddock, and you have to compare them, to how they normally look. Which I guess in Thibodeau's case that's his demeanor, but. I'm with you. I mean, I haven't seen where the Knicks are, all that great. I mean, they don't appear to really, match up well with the Miami Heat and those offensive rebounds that they were giving up to Miami in that last game. I mean, it literally looked like a pinball. The way it just kept popping. They were getting 3 and 4 shot opportunities on a lot of possessions. So pretty interesting. How the hell did we get here, man? I mean, we were ready to trade Lowry. We didn't think we could get a bag of basketballs for this guy. Duncan Robinson, just forget about it. I guess we still can forget about him in most situations. But, we didn't see this happening.
No.
How did it happen?
We've been trying to figure that out. I feel like there's a few things that have occurred here. One is that they were just tired of the regular season. I think when you are a 1 seed and then you get that close, it's like having to start back at the beginning can be tough. They went into training camp, like I said, with certain guys. It didn't seem like a team concept in camp. When I was in the Bahamas, there was a lot of me stuff going on. I think it took some time to work through that. I know there's going to be a lot of pointing to Tyler going out here. And I think that's somewhat unfair because I do think he'd be helping them offensively. But I also think in some ways it's simplified things. You have 2 20-point scorers and a third 20-point scorer in Bam who you want to actually do more. You're trying to find the roles for all of them. And when Tyler went out, it was like, okay, what's going to happen? Well, Jimmy's just going to take greater usage. I mean, that's kind of what happened. I mean, Jimmy went from 24 usage in the regular season to 31.
Jeez.
So he picked up a lot. That's third in the playoffs, I think. So he picked up a lot of what Tyler was doing, which just again simplifies things for them a little bit. And also, look, I think that now you've got some motivations that are actually positive. Like thing is, when you get to the playoffs, if you make a contribution on that stage with everybody watching, it doesn't have to be scoring. It could be other ways. So you have a guy like a Vincent, okay, or like a Strus, and now it's like, okay, you're seeing them contribute to winning. Well, that's making them money, actually, right now. Like in the playoffs. In the regular season, it's more like, okay, you have to stand out with something outstanding, like a big scoring game or something like that. But now teams are watching, and they're like, wait a second, okay, that gave Vincent, like, we could use a guy who could hound a guy for 94 feet, okay, even if he's not giving you 18 points all the time. I think that they've just bought into this. And I think the other thing, and this is crazy because I didn't see this coming at all, Kevin Love has lightened up that locker room a lot. Like, it's made a difference. And it's weird. What's that?
Kevin Love is like a leader.
It's really weird to me. I'll say this because I covered him in Cleveland, the first year that LeBron went back. And look, I was miserable. Everybody was miserable because it was Cleveland. But Kevin Love didn't want to deal with the media there at all. He seems sullen, kind of under a ton of pressure, obviously, because he was the third guy. He was the Bosch on that team and all that. But I mean, he literally has lit up the room. Like he's loose. He keeps the other guys loose. He's become close with Jimmy, with Kyle, with Max. and he's made a big difference. I think I really do. Like sometimes a guy can just and I almost think it could have been anybody, but we talked during the season. They needed someone to change the dynamic in there because it got stale. It was the same group as last year without PJ. It's like, but to add a different personality to that room, Cody's been good too, but Kevin has made like a real difference in that regard. And it actually has felt fun in that room. Now, sometimes the winning creates that. We know that it's a little bit, it's chicken or the egg kind of thing. But I do think that he has lightened things up there. And I think that that's been good. And the other thing is, Eric Spoelstra's just in his bag now. This is where Eric is most comfortable, is preparing for one opponent. And they know, I think there's a belief now that they've gotten to the finish line of the regular season and they just made it and they could exhale. And now nobody believes in us and all the rest of this. Their whole thing is they're playing with house money, but they think they've got the best coach and the best player. So if you're playing with house money, but you think you've got the two best at the two most important spots in the playoffs, then you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And they've just rallied around the two of them. They've bought into all the things with Eric they didn't buy into in the regular season. They're just doing them now. And I think you see that when they grab 8 offensive rebounds on a possession. Like that's where they're at.
Do we run it by him, Lubie, or is it too much already with this question about red clots?
Who would actually get it?
All right, we've run this by Ron Rothstein, and he did have an answer. Sean Devaney, who you may know, covers the NBA for a long time, real good guy. So the question would be, in trying to characterize, where Spoelstra fits as a coach, if he was an assistant on Red Klotz's staff, would the Generals have been a 500?
I think it's possible.
Or I mean, I guess
are the Generals going to spend into the luxury tax for a change? I think that
I don't believe they had that luxury.
I think that matters.
The Generals were like the gladiators. My God, I mean, they were barely even fed.
Throw to the wolves. I covered a few of those games. Yeah, they might. I'll say this about Eric. Eric tends to really appreciate the more challenging it gets. He likes this. He's like the type of guy who you would, if he's playing Madden, he'll put it on the hardest level his first time just to see how he does.
That's not me. I want the path of least resistance and everything.
Me too. And then what I used to do was, when I would lose, I would look around to see if anybody was watching.
Yeah.
And then I'd reset it and
re-rack the thing,
and start over. That's not him. There's some stuff I can't really get into at this stage, but it's been a challenging year for him in a lot of different ways. And I just think that now it's like he's in the playoffs and it's like, okay, let's go.
This is him, yeah.
Let's go. And he's been terrific. He's really been ahead on pretty much every. I mean, there are times in the playoffs, even if they're really good runs, that you'd be like, oh, Eric had an off game there, and he had a lot of them during the regular season. Trust me, he had a lot. We were like, what? What is he doing here? Why didn't he use the challenge? Why didn't he? There's a lot of stuff. But during the playoffs, it's like everything has been timed kind of perfectly and rotation wise. And he's doing little subtle things that people aren't even noticing. But his subs are a few seconds shorter now. He's trying to rotate guys in so they don't get winded. You see, they'll be 2 at a time. Even Tibbs mentioned after the game, he was asked like what the problem is in the series, and he actually said, well, they've got Lowry coming off their bench. Well, that was a Spo move. I mean, Tibbs mentioned that like impromptu, like nobody mentioned Lowry, but then he's like, they got Lowry, and then they bring Bam back at a certain time. Like Spo's rotations are in his head right now. And he's just, and now right now, what is he? He's 11-3 in the playoffs against Tibbs all time.
Wow.
And one of those,
he looks like a schlep.
Well, exactly right, and one of those 3 was the game Jimmy didn't play in the series.
Exactly.
That the Heat almost stole. I mean, one of the series was kind of unfair because Rosendeng didn't play, but yeah, 11-3 is 11-3. It's at a certain point the other coach kind of recognizes it's just not going to work.
All right, let's look elsewhere here. We saw Philadelphia bounce back, and they had won the previous game, but they had nearly Doc Rivers did away in the fourth quarter, and then winning in overtime. They were kind of lucky to hang on there. Some criticism going, and assertions being made that the Boston coach blew it by not calling a timeout, setting up a play. Certainly a little clock awareness would have helped if we want to go Mike Mayock on the thing. But nonetheless, I mean, it would be entirely conceivable for most people to see Boston come back and win Game 6, force a Game 7, the way the series has gone. It doesn't seem overwhelmingly imposing. Either of those teams have their vulnerabilities. If the Heat, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, and put the Rachel Nichols curse on the Heat here, but I'm assuming that they're going to, win one of these 3 games against the Knicks. And, so in a matchup against either of those two teams, it's not inconceivable that they'd be right there again.
Yeah. I mean, you look at both of them. Philly, they obviously saw in the play. They've seen in the playoffs. Boston, they've seen in the playoffs. This Philly team seems to be in large part dependent on whether James Harden decides he wants to play. So, I'll take my chances against that. Traditionally, Boston to me is a weird deal because Missoula got off to such a good start this year, and they were playing a certain style. They were, Robert Williams wasn't playing, and they were playing a lot more drive and kick, and just killing it with threes for the early in the season. They had for the first 6 weeks of the year, they had a historic offensive rating. It's kind of come back, and defensively, they're not where they were at. We've seen Tatum against Miami. He can have brilliant games, and he can shoot 4 of 18. And so I don't think I think there's a familiarity of both of these teams for the Heat, which means there's not a fear of either of them. They won't be favored in either one. I think Boston will be a bigger favorite against them than Philadelphia if Boston rallies to win this series. But if you just look at the Philly series, they have an answer. I mean, look, Bam's not going to stop Embiid, but they will make it difficult on him enough. And the reason I think that you want Philly is Jimmy's not going to let them lose to Philly. He's just not. He's just not. I mean, he's Tobias Harris over me. Okay. I mean, I know some of the players are not there anymore in terms of Brett Brown's not the coach. Ben Simmons isn't there. Those were 2 of the issues up there. But I mean, everybody's an issue for Jimmy in his head if he wants it to be. But he's in such a. I've never seen anything like it. He's in just for a star in the playoffs. He's just completely unbothered. It's just. I said this before. He's more concerned about his playlist than the opponent. He literally. It's like we walk in the locker room. It's like, what is Jimmy playing tonight? Okay, what is his? He's playing a song called "Innocence and Sadness." The last time we watched. He's just weird. Okay, during these situations.
What is that, Ravi Shankar? I mean, music he's listening to.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of bizarre sitar solo.
I mean, then he's playing "I Be Stroking" the other. I mean, he's just and singing along to it. We the other night he's posting on Instagram for the world to see. He's out, having a wine,
drinking wine and playing his guitar.
This is supposed to be hard. I think he wants Philly. And that's so to me. If he wants Philly, I want Philly because I want to see what this looks like. Boston will be really challenging for them in a lot of different ways. Guys like Derek White kill them. Their depth, Brogdon. I think you'd rather see Philly and you'd rather take your chance. It's funny. Who would you rather take a chance with, the rookie coach or Doc Rivers? I mean, I think in either case, Spo is also. I believe again against either of those teams, and I know people say Tatum and Embiid. I think the Heat will have the best player in the series and the best coach in the series, so I give him a chance. I give him a chance against either. I don't know if I'd pick him against Boston. I would pick him against Philly. I'd pick him against Philly.
This can't be good for 5 reasons.
No.
A remarkable playoff run after it looked like they were going to be in disgrace and eliminated.
And then we got the Panthers on the other side, and that the building was electric there the other night. So I mean, it's a smaller group, but there's definitely interest there. It's no question.
It's a beautiful thing. We're going to talk to Jessica Blaylock about that in just a couple of minutes here. Ethan, always a pleasure, man. We appreciate what you do for us there, giving us access and a platform on 5 reasons, and we always love it when you come on the show. So we'll continue this symbiotic relationship, hopefully well into the future. And congratulations on this milestone you had where Elon Musk had to give you a car or something for all of the tweets that you guys have generated. That's fantastic.
I think he's going to shadow ban me, probably.
Just don't let him know your politics. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Ethan. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Jessica Blaylock is in, according to Lubie. And you want to take a quick break? We'll come back with Jessica. You want to do that? All right. Sounds good. That's what we'll do. That's how we're producing the program on the fly here. Jessica Blaylock in at plus 130. So you can go to the windows and cash your tickets as soon. What does she have to do? Lock in for at least one word?
And we have to have her on. But
Yeah.
yes, I've spoken with her this morning and gotten yes.
Okay, sounds good, man. I mean, the FanDuel people won't be happy. They got to pay a price. Coming back with Jessica Blaylock on the Florida Panthers in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:45.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. That could be another book that we put out. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. The end is near. You can tell the end is near, man. That you could definitely do that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. The people that had faith in us and our relationship with the lovely Jessica Blaylock are off to the windows to cash at plus 130, as that was the line that was posted earlier this morning as to whether or not we were going to connect with Jessica here on the program. And we always love having her on. I mean, this is a young lady who will go eat chocolate-covered caterpillars to illustrate a point, and also be able to go toe-to-toe with the best hockey minds in the world, and baseball as well. We welcome to the show the lovely Jessica Blaylock. Jessica, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
We're good now because all the people that said you were going to be on the show, they're getting plus 130, and it wasn't official until you actually said something. So that's great. You've been busy, huh?
Yes, very busy, very busy.
But
Last
it's a good
week,
busy.
let's see,
It's a great busy.
great
right?
busy, a great busy. Last week alone, let's see, Tuesday I did hockey, Wednesday I did baseball, Thursday I did hockey, Friday I did baseball, Saturday I did baseball, Sunday I did baseball and hockey.
Wow.
That's a good week right there. Yeah.
And that's a nice doubleheader. And it's always nice when your teams are on a run. The Panthers the Marlins ran into a little brick wall there for a while when they lost, 5 straight. But this thing with the Cats, that's obviously what we want to zero in on, and why we were so anxious to have you on the program, because you're right there with it, with Jovanowski and all of the boys who are talking about this run that they're having. And we haven't seen this here since 95, 96, Jessica. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, can you believe it yourself? As we sit here tonight with a possibility of clinching a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I can believe it because of the way that they had to play the last couple of months to even get into the playoffs. And I remember the final game of the regular season, a couple of us were talking about who we wanted to play in the first round. And I wanted no part of Carolina. I still think Carolina is one of the strongest teams left in the playoffs. So that was the big thing for me. I said, I want no part of Carolina. I'll take Jersey because we played them well, should have gone 3-0 against them in the regular season. And I said, you know what? I am not really opposed to playing Boston either. There were only 2 teams in the regular season who beat Boston twice, the Ottawa Senators and the Florida Panthers. And then once they beat Boston, I knew they would have a good chance of beating Toronto. And look, I don't want to get ahead of myself. They haven't done that yet. But a 3-0 lead over the Leafs. So, I don't want to say that I'm surprised, because I think that this team had it in them, especially having a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, who just has this compete level that I've never seen before. And then, of course, getting Sam Bennett back, who is such a similar, passionate, intense player like Tkachuk. I don't know if I would have said, I wouldn't have said they would have been up 3-0 on the Leafs. But I think they're doing what we thought they were capable of, seeing what they had to do the final months of the regular season just to get in.
So, look, as someone, and I talked to you about these things a lot because you have a sports talk background. You loved it. You were highly involved in it for years. You now have been around teams inside the inner sanctum for years. So I'll talk to you quite often about the locker room, because you're in there with the players and you have both perspectives. How we'll mock here in this world, intangibles, but then players and coaches believe in that stuff, chemistry, wholeheartedly. You were a big fan of Huberdeau. You were sad to see him go. He was with the organization a long time, a big part of taking them from what they were to what we felt they were becoming. But to a person, it's pretty clear things have changed with the insertion of that person you talked about, Tkachuk, for many reasons. You're around this club. Is it that simple that Tkachuk brought this fiery, competitive spirit and not only shows it, but talks about it? Has he really changed this organization on and off the ice that much?
Well, I think it's been a huge part, but I don't think it's necessarily been the only thing. Just going back to your point, I was sad to see Huberdeau go, but I was sad from an emotional perspective because I knew him so well and I liked him so much as a person. I remember Craig Minervini called me. I was in Pittsburgh the night of that trade for baseball. Craig Minervini called me at like 11:30 at night. And he's like, "Did you see the trade that the Panthers just made?" And we talked about it, and we both agreed, after getting past the emotional aspect of losing a player like Huberdeau, we were like, man, this is a good trade that has the potential to be a great trade. And it has. It's been a phenomenal trade. And just because of what we just talked about, Matthew Tkachuk, every time I try to describe him to people, it doesn't matter what I say, I still feel like I'm falling short of putting into perspective what he does, the impact he has for this team, the emotion that he plays with, the compete level that he's brought into that dressing room. So yes, I absolutely think Tkachuk has had a huge part of it because he drags everybody into the fight with him in a way that maybe we haven't seen before. But I think a lot of it too is, Carter Verhaeghe turning into just a complete player, not only into goal scoring, but defensively what he's done this year. Brandon Montour having a franchise record-setting year for a defenseman. Etu Luostarinen, the growth that he's experienced. Sam Reinhart, who's been phenomenal in the playoffs. You can go down the list and you can really hone in on different contributions across the board. So while Tkachuk may have shaped the compete level, I think you still have to give a lot of credit to these guys who have really stepped up as well and taken their game to the next level. So I really do think it's been a combined group effort with Tkachuk really lighting the fire as far as the competition out on the ice.
Out of respect to you and for you, Jessica Blaylock, we have to admit that when all of a sudden Alex Lyon, who had this marvelous Cinderella story going from, he was James J. Braddock there getting a fight with Max Baer. All of a sudden he's a starting goalie in the playoffs after taking him on that 6-game winning streak and then a couple of tough outings. He's a starter, and then he turns into Dick Stewart, Dr. Strangeglove, all of a sudden. And we were horrified when we thought that Bobrovsky was going to have to come in. And so where do we go? I mean, if we were having an on-air confessional, I guess we could admit this our audience is aware of it. He was a subject of all derisive comments. Every joke, he was the punchline, blind jokes. I mean, things that were really disparaging to people who are impaired. And he's been great. What happened there? I mean, some people would say that you might have been able to see this coming. We did not. That's for sure. So what did you see, Jessica?
Yeah, well, and Alex Lyon is another name that you could throw in there to give credit as to why this team is where they are. Because, he comes in for that final stretch of the regular season. The team goes 6-1-1 in their final 8 games, which is why they were able to get into the playoffs. And so, Sergei Bobrovsky was legitimately hurt. He couldn't play. So Alex Lyon, all he does is step up and help lead the team into the playoffs. And I think that's why you saw Lyon get the start in those first couple of games against Boston, because Paul Maurice had so much respect for what Lyon did and for the position he was put in the way that he delivered. So I think out of just pure respect for what Lyon had done for the team, coach goes with him to start that Boston series. He is in the net for the first game. That's obviously a loss. He's in the net for the second game. That's a win, and he made some huge saves. But at the end of the day, you're paying Sergei Bobrovsky $10 million a year to be a $10 million a year goalie. It's as simple as that. So, when they finally made the switch, what was it, in game 4, I think, against Boston after they lost game 3? It's the move that you need to make, because for as much as Alex Lyon was an amazing story, and we will forever have to give him credit for what he did. I don't ever want to take that away from him, because he deserves it. But at the end of the day, you need your Vezina trophy winning goalie to be in the net for a deep playoff run. And so I think when Bob came back, 1, it was the right decision, and 2, he wanted that responsibility. That's something that Paul Maurice talked extensively about, was how he needed to have the pressure on his best players to get it done. And that included Sergei Bobrovsky. And, give Bob credit. He, after not playing for a couple weeks, got in there, helped lead the team to the series win against Boston. No bigger save than that breakaway opportunity by Brad Marchand. And he's gotten the job done, and he has been tremendous against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, whether it's been Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, O'Reilly, I mean, you go down the list, he has made a huge save or two on every single one of their high skill players. So what Bob has done and what Alex Lyon did at the beginning of the playoffs, they both deserve credit for what they were able to do, what they've been able to do.
Hey, it looks like Ken Dryden in there, Patrick Waugh. I mean, any of the greats. He's been fantastic, which is not something that Lubie and I had necessarily anticipated with an overwhelming amount of confidence. And speaking of other things, Jessica, that we were dead wrong about, we apparently were dead wrong in labeling Paul Maurice the French Joe Philbin, because he is anything but that. I mean, the guy's got all kinds of personality, and apparently is just like a cocksure, confident, guy in terms of. They always come to the interview with him when his team's like down 2-0. He's like, no, we're right where we want to be. But he means it. I mean, he's an interesting cat, is he not?
Oh, he's been awesome. From day one, he has been awesome. And one of the things that I love most about him is he is just so respectful and aware of Katie Engelson and myself and our voices, and especially as women in this field. And he always makes sure we get our questions in, and he always makes sure that he, gives us time if there's a lot of people there. And so number one, I just appreciated having an ally from day one who I knew was for me and for Katie as well, especially her being brand new, stepping into that role. And then just the other thing, I was stunned, honestly, throughout the course of the season at the amount of negativity and just things that Paul Maurice didn't necessarily deserve, in my opinion. I know the team struggled, but when I stepped back a couple months in and really looked at what coach was trying to do, which was completely change the style of hockey that the team was playing and had played for years, it takes time to unlearn things. And this is what I've said throughout the course of this season. Anytime people ask me about Paul Maurice, anything in life, something that you've been doing for years, and then all of a sudden you try to unlearn it and do something new, it's going to take growing pains. It's going to take time. And factor in that the Panthers were up against the salary cap, so they didn't necessarily have a ton of money to make, hardcore significant moves with personnel. They also dealt with major injuries the first couple of months to guys like Alexander Barkov and Aaron Ekblad. So if you look back with that perspective, you're a little bit more understanding as to maybe why the first couple of months of the season were a struggle. And so I hope that a lot of people who were very, very negative towards Paul Maurice are now giving him the praise that he deserves, because, he stayed, no matter what people said, he stayed consistent and he stayed true to what he wanted to do with this team, which was to teach them how to play playoff style hockey in the regular season. And everything that the team went through, I think, in the regular season is why they're still alive in the playoffs right now, and why they still have, why they have a 3-0 lead, why they were able to knock off the historically greatest regular season team we've ever seen in the history of the NHL. So despite the outside opinions, Paul Maurice stayed true to himself, stayed true to his style, stayed true to what he was trying to accomplish with this team. And I'm so happy for him because of that, because, it wasn't always easy, but to see where they are now, it truly is remarkable.
That was great, too. I mean, what fun this is. The Boston people there gloating all those years with Tom Brady as they were burying the Miami Dolphins. And, a level of depression there that, we never in our wildest dreams could have imagined. They were choking on their chowder all throughout that series as the Panthers came back. And now this one, I mean, what level of depression will be beset upon the people of Toronto as all of those Canadian plates go slowly back north here from South Florida? How they'll never get over this, will they? I mean, this is going to be a devastating blow, especially as, if we can get the coveted sweep that we're looking for tonight, Jessica.
I would love the sweep. I don't think there would be anything more satisfying.
Oh my God, yes.
Toronto, obviously the quote unquote hockey mecca of the world.
Yes.
Have this little non-traditional market team, just completely take care of business against. There would be nothing more satisfying. Like I said earlier, I do not want to get ahead of myself. I still have to believe at some point that, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, who have scored no goals in this series so far,
forget them.
Which is shocking, which is just shocking after combining for 13 goals against Tampa in the first round. I just don't, you know what I mean? I just don't want to get ahead of myself and say this series is going to be over tonight, because I don't even want to jinx it. I don't want to curse it. I want to
bring a broom, at least a whisk broom. Yeah. I want one of those umpire brooms from the home plate umpire at the Marlins game.
I'll look for something.
Yeah. Bring a broom.
But, it's crazy though, because even in Game 3, I think the one thing that has surprised me with the Leafs is one of the reasons they were so much better this season is because they actually did commit to playing defense. The Leafs so often in past years, they're such a high-powered offense, obviously, with the guys that they have, but they didn't have a commitment to playing defense. And that was different this year. They really did make that commitment, especially a guy like Austin Matthews. And then you watch Game 3, the overtime goal that Sam Reinhart scored. And
Oh, a thing of beauty, man. Holy Billy Lindsay.
And nobody touched him. Nobody touched him. Nobody even went close to him. And I could not believe for playoff hockey that calls for physicality and calls for games tightening up that he literally just skated in between 5 Maple Leafs. So I give Florida credit because they are winning this, but there's going to be a lot of talk in Toronto that they essentially also lost it for themselves.
Heads are going to roll there.
Guys not being able to get it done, and by not playing strong, defensive, structured, physical, it's mind-blowing to me. It really is, watching it, that this is a playoff style. I don't know. It's I mean, and I'm not a Toronto expert. It's not I guess me, needing to break down the Leafs. I'll just give Florida credit for what they've done and how they've done a good job with those guys and how they used their forecheck effectively and how Bob's made unbelievable saves and how we're watching Anton Lundell and Etuo Saarinen grow up right in front of our eyes. And I don't know, but it's just been a little surprising, and I think there is going to be a lot of conversation in Toronto if the Panthers end up finishing this one off in the next game or two.
Oh, this would be beautiful. I mean, the sweep, not that I have anything against these guys, but the GM is toast, and you'll find the coach behind the bench of the Rangers next year. That's our theory anyway. We all became hockey experts over the last couple of weeks, Jessica. We couldn't have named a guy on the roster.
Amazing, right? I know.
A couple of weeks ago. It's amazing. We're on a bandwagon now, and bring the broom, and tell Intervini to bring one too, and and everybody else, Jovanowski, the whole crew there, and have a blast out there tonight. Now, are you doing a broadcast of some type from the game?
Yeah.
Or,
So we'll be in studio. Randy Mueller and I will be in studio.
Oh, cool.
And Katie Ingleson and Steve Goldstein will be live from the FLA Live Arena. So we will have the 4 of us on the coverage tonight. And yes, hopefully we are talking about not only a Florida Panthers win, but a Florida Panthers sweep, because that would just be chef's kiss.
Yes.
How great would it be? I mean, send these Canadian people packing back home. No more golf carts on A1A. I mean, I need some relief here. I need some help, Jessica.
No, I'm with you, because I am tired of all of the talk about
how great they are.
They don't show up and they don't know hockey and they don't. I got to be careful what I say. It's BS, because
we'll issue a disclaimer after the show.
I was going to say, make sure you have that.
Those are the thoughts of Jessica Blaylock alone. She's on her own, man. I'm
so tired of seeing the disrespect towards the Florida Panthers and their fan base and the organization, and it would just be so
this would be great.
Awesome for these, nearly 20,000 fans that have packed out the building for these games, who have gone nuts, who've waved the rally towels, for Vinny and Teresa Viola, who have committed to this team and this community, and they've poured the money in to make this a winning organization, for Bill Zito, who has completely, changed this entire team over the past couple seasons. I just think it would be the most gratifying, satisfying thing if they could get the sweep.
Be a lot of fun, that's for sure. All right, if you see Red, you're going to see Red Deer tonight. If they do get the sweep,
I
can you
will.
put the touch on Red Deer or Goldie for a couple of tickets for Lubie and me to the next series? Looks like Carolina, and you're right. They're going to be tough if they, close it out against New Jersey. Jessica, great stuff as always. Fantastic. We love watching you on TV. You do a tremendous job, and it's always great having you on the program. We thank you so much for getting up with us today, and amidst a rather busy social calendar that you have working right now, thanks so much for being with us.
I appreciate it. Living the dream, as always. Thank you, guys.
Have fun.
All right, thanks a lot. Jessica Blaylock, ladies and gentlemen. She knows her stuff, man. I mean, no question about it.
I love talking to her. She's great.
Yeah.
She just is very busy. She's highly involved with the model.
It's a rough one. Yeah, right. I mean, you're going to do a schlep streaming show with a couple of goofballs like you and me. When,
not about that. Remember, they even though they're not against their national games, they're still working, and especially in post games, the game's done at like 9:30, 10. Your post game 10:30, 11. Then you get out of there, and then you like by the time you're home, it's 12 something. Like,
getting up in the morning is not the easiest thing. I mean, we're accustomed to it, and it's still rough, Lubie.
Ain't
No
easy.
doubt. Yeah.
I beat you every morning.
I slept to the alarm today. I mean, I'd been awakened a couple of times during the night by Skippy Dog in particular. But, it was, not easy, right? Need a standing 8 count when I got up this morning. And may need one tomorrow, too, because it's going to be an interesting night. Where are you planning on? Oh, you have your trivia. No, not tonight.
No. I will be hunkered down at home. I will have probably the Heat on the TV and the Panthers on my phone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'll be anxious the entire night because that's how I've become as a sports fan, and I don't know what to do. I don't enjoy any second of it, and I don't know how to do it any other way. I told myself, I'm like, well, if they're up 3-1, you'll be confident about the Heat. They're up 3-1, and I'm anxious. I'm like, well, if the Panthers are somehow up 3-0, I mean, you can't be anxious. They're up 3-0. They have the series, and I'm anxious. So I don't know. I've become a raging.
Never over till it's over. It's Yogi Berra. It really is. I believe that. I always, we mentioned this before, and no matter what level of sports you played at, I didn't care what the deficit was. I always felt like I was going to find a way to come back and win. I could be down 5-love and love 40 in a tennis set. And I'm thinking, okay, let me get this game. And then, start chipping away. And you will sometimes see, the person on the other side of the net or the other team start to crumble a little bit. 1-on-1, you're down 10-0. You got the ball, you take it out. Figure, okay, let me knock down about 3 here from the top of the key. Then I'll make it 10-3. Then I'll drive one to the basket, hope that goes in, then shoot another 3 on the top of the key. Next thing you know, it's 10-7. Right? And you're back in the thing. And, the guy has to score in his next possession or he feels like he's going to lose. So you never should count yourself out until the fat lady is singing. But I think there's a rather large woman waiting in the wings there for both the Knicks.
I mean, if you had told me going into this series with
and Maple Leafs,
he'd be up 3-1. I'd be happy. You told me the Panthers would be up 3-0. I would tell you.
Yeah, I probably I don't know. I gave both teams a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it would be like easy. Where the Panthers have a chance to really make it look easy. Although all 3 games were competitive, and the Knicks though they were handling those 2 games at the Kinshasa Arena or whatever that is.
Kaseya. It's
Kinshasa Zaire.
Casa. Yeah, exactly.
Now stepping in the ring, there's Big George Foreman. I tell you what, he looks really fit here for the aging Ali. This is going to be some challenge. All right. We'll see you guys later on. We'll be at the pizza spot.
You check us.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Veggie
I
pizza.
decided my orders. I know you have to do your veggie pizza.
No, I don't have to. I mean, whatever the group is getting. I just happen to like that veggie pizza a lot.
No, there's nothing wrong with getting it. I'm just saying. I've already started. Okay. They have the meatball that they have there is freaking.
Oh, yeah, those meatballs are good too. Yeah, Caesar salad even is good.
I mean, they just do it, and it's been a while now, so I'm like actually salivating thinking about it. So I can't.
I like their pizza. You know what? It's funny because that guy complained on Let's Eat South Florida about the pizza, being no good once you got it into the car. I found just the opposite. That the thing was absolutely amazing after it had been in the fridge for like a week.
Yep.
Toaster oven for a few minutes, and then bingo, man. The stuff was like good as new. It was great. All right, so we'll see you there. Pizza spot later on. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox right here on the South Florida Live channel here on YouTube and on Let's Eat South Florida on Facebook. And that comes your way at 12 o'clock from the pizza spot in Fort Lauderdale. For Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:13. Wow.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they got.